Hey everyone, this is Stove here. Today we are going to be talking about week 3 of the NFL season. Let's go. All right. This is getting better and better. I feel like every single week. We're seeing great matchups. Now, obviously, there are a lot of teams that are 0-2 that you may have thought could have been 1-1 or maybe 2-0 by this point, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, let's get right into it. Dolphins versus Bills. Love to see that it will also be on Prime Video for those who have Prime Video. Bills, in my opinion, the way the Dolphins are playing right now, the Bills are going to win. The Dolphins defense cannot stop a team like Buffalo, especially whenever they're at home. This is their second time at home, so you're going to probably see the Bills put on even more of a show. And the way the Dolphins defense is giving out points like it's something to do, I'm almost for certain they ended up getting a little over 70 points against them just in 2 weeks, which is pretty bad. So, with that being said, I think Bills are going to probably not like right away wash up the Dolphins, but the Bills will definitely put up probably between 30 and 40 points against the Dolphins. It really just depends on the Dolphins' offense and the playmaking that Tua Tagovailoa can make and be a playmaker himself to try to keep that game close. But I think it'll be between 30-40 points for the Bills and like 10 and 23 points for the Dolphins. That's just a random number kind of thrown out there. So yeah, Bills would win that one. Bengals versus Vikings. I call this one the battle of the backups, because not only will you have Jake Browning, but you will also have, Jake Browning on the Bengals, but you will actually have Carson Wentz on the Vikings. But then on the Vikings as well, apparently Desmond Ridder got picked up, and the Vikings quarterback that got cut before preseason ended completely, you had I can't remember his name, but you had a Vikings quarterback that got picked up by us just in case we wanted to put some. So we may see at minimum the two backups play that had started playing last week in their situational games. But the maximum, we'll probably end up seeing 4 different quarterbacks playing for 2 different teams, and who knows what may happen. But because it's Cincinnati, because it's my Bengals, who I've rooted for years, well, at least for as long as I known what football was, the Bengals are going to win this game. It will be a back and forth game. Unless Jack Browning frickin' pulls off the complete opposite and does not throw, maybe will throw an interception, but does 3 touchdowns. Chase Brown gets some rushing yards here and there. We will probably see the Bengals win, even though it's at the Minnesota's stadium. It will still be a very close game. It will come down to 3 to 6 points. I could definitely see it coming down to 3 to 6 points, and the Bengals I see coming out with the win. Packers versus Browns. You're gonna have a lot of people saying, well, the Browns may still have a chance just because of their defense, and maybe not with Joe Flacco, but we may see something different. Well, No. We might. There's a chance that the Browns defense could still keep them in this game by a two possession, like 2 touchdowns or something along those lines. So realistically, I can see that. I could see it possibly being a close game. Maybe the Browns keep the Packers scoring more than 28 points. That's doable for the Browns defense. But is it the case that the Packers defense forces Joe Flacco into throwing more interceptions like he has this year? He's only thrown 3 so far, but I could see him throwing another 1 or 2. If Joe Flacco is staying poised as he is, even against Baltimore Ravens defense, realistically, I think that was more of a pass coverage defense, one of the better pass coverage defenses that he'll face throughout the year. But with the Packers, it's heavy blitzes, guys that are athletically gifted. Well, obviously that's for both sides, Browns and Packers, but realistically, I think the Packers will put a lot of blitzing against the rushing and the passing game, and I could only really see if the Browns offense makes plays on the Packers defense somehow, which right now teams like Washington, teams like Detroit haven't done that yet. So with the Browns offensive situation, on paper, it doesn't seem likely that they will score more than 12 or 15 points. Well, I would probably say 12 points. However, the Browns could surprise us and make it more of a close game by 1 possession. But Packers could easily just blow up the Browns offense, shatter them to nothing, and the Packers end up probably scoring like 40, I would say 38 to 41 points this game. If it's complete domination through Packers. So that's what I'm meaning by that. But Packers will win, and we'll see what happens with the Browns. Colts versus Tennessee Titans. You have the now favorited team to win the AFC South, who is 2-0, facing the 4th place favorited team to win the AFC South. Cam Ward has done good. I think he's done better, even though it's only been 2 games. He's technically done better every game. With Daniel Jones already having looks like so much chemistry with the Colts offense, and the Colts defense obviously allowing 28 points when facing the Broncos, we'll probably see pretty much a little bit different, like trying to tweak the mistakes of like stopping Tennessee's team from getting to the end zone, or even to the red zone that much. And all things considered, the Colts offense, I think, will still dominate. Tennessee Titans have their defensive problems. They also have their offensive problems. And to me, you can name it however you want, but I think it's really just offensively. But you also want to see like where you can go. Even though you have Calvin Ridley, he is a stud in my eyes. But realistically, I think Cam Ward is throwing it to some solid receiver, to 1, maybe 2 solid receivers. Has a solid running back who could do some damage against that Colts defense, but it was mainly that passing game for the Colts that gave them trouble, especially with such tight fit offense like the Broncos. I don't think Tennessee is close to that. So realistically, I think you can probably say I could say confidently that it'll end up being like 35-24 or 38-27, or it can be even lower than that. Colts may only score like 24 points, where Tennessee is like between 10 and 14. Really just depends on both defenses, but with the Colts defense looking like how they are, it's probably better to say that the Colts, with some turnovers too, Daniel Jones will look still much like a stud that he's looking like in the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor will rush for another 100 freaking yards. So I think Colts end up 3-0. Titans, unfortunately, will end up 0-3. Steelers and Patriots. For me, I would have to make this a idea for people that may think this way too, or for people that haven't really thought this way yet. Does Drake May outplay Aaron Rodgers, and does he also outsmart the Steelers defense like the Seahawks are able to do? Obviously, it was more of the fact that the Seahawks' defense was able to get turnovers on Aaron Rodgers, was able to put Sam Darnold in better situations than they did the week 1. But also Kenneth Walker came out of nowhere and rushed for a solid amount last week. And that's what put the Seahawks into a better position to win 31-17 or 34-17. Patriots looked a lot better last week. Obviously, it was against Miami Dolphins defense. So it's gonna be probably gonna be a lot different facing the Steelers. Good Lord. Facing the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense is a lot more grit, a lot more physical in my opinion. There's a lot of people saying that Miami Dolphins defense is just soft. They're not playing with much heart, or they're not putting enough effort into a lot of the plays, and that what puts the Dolphins into the terrible situations that they're in right now. But the Patriots versus Steelers, just 8 years ago probably, but let's say 10 years ago, the Steelers and Patriots were the two teams to love to see matching up against one another. Whether it was at 1 p.m., whether it was at 4:25, whether it was at 8:20 Sunday night, or Thursday night football, or Monday night football, didn't matter. The Steelers and Patriots were always putting up solid plays, making it a very close game. And like, there's just close calls for a lot of different previous Steelers versus Patriots games. Do I think Drake May, again, let's get back to it, Drake May, does he outplay this defense? If that offensive line comes correct, Steelers defense will have a tough time getting to Drake May. I think they will pressure Drake May between 10 to 15 times, for sure. Do they make him throw a couple interceptions to put Aaron Rodgers into the situation where it's now in reverse for the Steelers, where instead of Aaron Rodgers is putting that defense into crappy situations, the Patriots are now getting put into the crappy situation with Drake May possibly throwing 1 or 2 interceptions, or the running back turning the ball over. I think realistically, if Aaron Rodgers, we have seen 2 different Aaron Rodgers. We have seen Aaron Rodgers week 1, who played phenomenally, and we have week 2 Aaron Rodgers, where he threw the ball, he either underthrew it or he overthrew it, and the defenses were there to capitalize on Aaron Rodgers' mistakes. So we pretty much saw Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers, and then we saw Jets Aaron Rodgers. So realistically, I can say, not necessarily confidently, but I can say Drake May plays slightly better than Aaron Rodgers going into the game. But if the Steelers defense can tweak and get better in what they haven't been doing, and that's really allowing touchdowns. Because they, even though, it was the Seahawks defense that were giving Aaron Rodgers trouble, and then at the same time, they also played against, oh my goodness, I can't remember the first week for the Steelers, but they need to be consistent. The Steelers need to be consistent throughout that whole game. Because you probably would have said, oh, Steelers are going to win against the Seahawks. We'll see. But I think Drake May outplays them. I see the Steelers still winning if the defense doesn't allow so many points. That's what I think. But with it being in Massachusetts, in Foxborough, you have Drake May already 0-1 at home. I think he wants to have a 1-1 record at home. So I'm going to give it slightly the edge, even though points-wise, you could see that, right there, Pittsburgh is favorited 1.5. I would probably give it a slight more edge to the Patriots, as long as Drake May and that offensive line is consistent. It's going to be consistency that will win the game for either the Steelers or for the Patriots, hands down. I will have to give it a slight edge to the Patriots, but like I said, consistency will be the winner here. Whoever is more consistent is going to be that, is going to win. But Patriots. Rams versus Eagles. You got the NFC divisional round rematch of last year, Rams versus Eagles. I see both teams putting up a lot of points. Obviously, you're in Philadelphia. Rams had already faced these guys in Philadelphia in the playoffs, and yet the Rams still put out so much of a good game. Now, it's going to be interesting because I think, Jalen Carter is going to be a part of this game, so you won't have to worry about that, Eagles fans. But I think the only thing that we haven't seen yet is Jalen Hurts throwing the ball a lot. He himself has rushed a lot. Saquon Barkley has rushed a lot. But I don't think we've seen enough passing, in my opinion, from Jalen Hurts so far. We haven't seen enough passing. With Matthew Stafford, we have seen enough passing. Yes, the Rams, Matthew Stafford has had an interception already. But with the Rams being so comfortable in the passing the passing notion as like if you can just squeeze your running back Williams in that, which I think you guys already have, just squeeze him in there. If he can get off like between 80 and 120 rushing yards, I know it's a lot against that Eagles defense. But if Matthew Stafford puts up more than 300 passing yards and 2+ touchdowns, with Williams getting between 80 to 120 rushing yards and even a rushing touchdown, it will turn into nearly the same game that we saw last year in the playoffs, and more than likely will probably end up slightly different, because we've seen some things that that the Chiefs offense has probably exposed the defense of the Eagles just a tad bit. It's only been a couple of weeks, but the defense of the Eagles has some things, like, I think every team obviously has their things to work on. Eagles are probably the more put together defense right now, besides teams like the Packers and teams like the Packers, pretty much. That's really it. So with the Rams, I think their best bet is to not force the ball, but pass the ball more, but also keep that Eagles team guessing, because that defense is going to, like, oh crap, they're in this running formation, and then all suddenly Matthew Stafford's throwing to Davante Adams, which last week you saw some things like that where they did look like they were in a run formation, and they ended up giving the ball to Davante Adams, to Puka Nacua, throwing it over to Williams a couple of times here and there. So you will probably see a very close matchup between these two, and I think as a fan, I want the Rams to win. So I'm going to have to continue to say this as more of a guy who is talking about logistic sports. I think the Rams pull it out in Philly. Only by... It will have to seriously be hard work by their Rams defense. And that Rams defense seems to have gotten younger, but their young players on defense has already faced the Eagles once, maybe twice. So they know what they're going to be up against. Saquon Barkley is going to be that guy that they're going to need to contain. Jalen Hurts, same thing. They're going to need to contain him, make him pass more. Now, Jalen Hurts can have a perfect game, but you get him to pass more, you probably are increasing the percentage of getting those turnovers if Jalen Hurts doesn't throw these short passes here, or your corners don't get beat outright by A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, or even if the Eagles just play, like I said, if they play the rushing game, contain. It will be difficult because they do run similar stuff to where they'll have the tight end come out and be in that middle spot, or be going off somewhere and ends up getting a catch here and there, gets the first down. It will probably be, both teams will end up having definitely 18 plus minutes of possession time. It just determines on who ends up making the last mistake. If the Rams are driving down the field, the last drive of the game, and they get that field goal, they get the chance to get a field goal, and you either go into overtime or you win by 3 points. Bam. Rams win in Philadelphia. I'm just saying Rams can win in Philadelphia. They can win against the Eagles. Unless the Eagles switch it up on everybody, Jalen Hurts starts passing like 15 out of like 20 plays, and then they go into rushing game, and now the Rams are like, oh crap, like now we're trying to focus on both things here, and both Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts are rushing the ball, but at the same time, Jalen Hurts is feeling more comfortable in that pocket, and he's just dotting everybody up. So anyway, going to the Rams there. Jets versus Buccaneers. Good Lord. Buccaneers, as simple as this. Jets defense can maybe make it a slight difficult game because obviously Baker Mayfield, he's done great things. Even last week, that last drive, him and Bucky Irving did spectacular. However, I do think if the Jets make it a close game, it will only be because of their defense. And I wouldn't be surprised if Baker Mayfield throws an interception just because of the pass coverage that the Jets can have at their ceiling. Right now, the Jets haven't been playing at their ceiling. And even if they did, it was against Aaron Rodgers and that Steelers offense, and yet they didn't pick him off once. So, we'll see, but I just will instantly say Tampa Bay at home, first game at home too, wins against the Jets. Raiders and Commanders, I think Jaden Daniels is up and down, I think, later today. So I think once this video comes out, we'll get to know what's really happening or where Jaden Daniels is and projectively if he's going to play against the Raiders. If not, it may turn into a closer game, but if Marcus Mariota is still the backup player like I think he is for the Commanders, we'll more than likely see their offense dominate the Raiders defense, and more than likely Geno Smith will throw more interceptions if the Commanders pass coverage can basically be roughly the same as it was last week. Well, 2 weeks ago. Because last week they faced Green Bay, but I think they still did good. Jared Goff did good. It's just they had mistakes, and Green Bay just capitalized on it. Falcons versus Panthers. That's going to be off and on. I think it still can be a good game, but I think the Falcons defense has shown the last 2 weeks the Falcons defense will probably end up putting Bryce Young into the situation like the Falcons have been able to put the situation on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and have also put the goodness gracious, was able to put the Saints, I believe, in not the Saints. That I don't know why I'm thinking of Arizona, but the Falcons has been playing good defense. Their defensive mind coaching staff, head coach and defensive coordinator have played well. It really just depends on what Michael Penix does and what they do with Robinson, who already has 34 carries and 167 yards. Even though I play the guy on like the team that I'm playing against on fantasy has Robinson. I can see Robinson getting one, maybe even two rushing touchdowns with 130 plus yards. I don't want him to, because I may lose my fantasy matchup, but wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers give up that much whenever it comes to their rush defense. Passing defense, Michael Penix just gets acclimated to how he's been playing the last 2 weeks, which I think he's got just like some other quarterbacks this year. He's gotten better and better. Like, even though it's only been 2 weeks, it's been getting better and better, and I appreciate the fact that he is getting better. I appreciate the fact that the Falcons' defense is getting better, and they're working on those tad bit mistakes so they don't have to worry about losing in the final minutes of a football game. So I'm going to say Falcons will go 2-1. Houston versus Jaguars. Houston has now dropped to third place as the favorite to win the AFC South. Jaguars has jumped up to second place. Can CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans get their first win? Because that's the thing here. If Trevor Lawrence plays like he did against the Bengals, then it is very much possible that Houston Texans are able to play off of those turnovers and be able to flip the script, and all of a sudden Houston is now winning a close game by like 1 or 1.5 possessions. Now it is also in Jacksonville, so Houston may end up starting 0-3. That will still put them in third place as the favorite for winning the AFC South. But can CJ Stroud and just the offense and the defense collectively get out of this rut that they're in? Because there is some things going on. I think Houston Texans are a solid team. It's just with them losing the way they've been losing, you can definitely argue that Houston kind of needs to not look back at all, but definitely like scan like what can they change. If there's a trade that needs to be made, is there something in the playbook that needs to change? Or is it just the mentality of Houston right now? And with it being 0-2, their mentality fucking sucks. I can tell you that. Excuse my language. So for me giving me favoriting more the home teams, I would have to say Jacksonville ends up beating Houston, but not only starting 0-2, but starting 0-3 and still making playoffs this year. It's very, very low chance that happens. But again, if Houston wins, maybe it shows that they're not out yet. Broncos versus Chargers. This could, even if the Chargers end up going 3-0, Broncos go 1-2, maybe it's a little bit of a switch around, but I think Broncos and Chargers, obviously the Chiefs are a great team. They have missing pieces that are either injured or suspended or just out right now. So the Chiefs can still come back, maybe even win against the Giants, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you got the Chargers, you got the Broncos. this could be the new matchup of the AFC West for the leadership or for the crown of the AFC West division. So I think if the Broncos end up winning, it will actually put the Chiefs in a better position to get back up there, with Chargers being 2-1, Broncos being 2-1. But the way the Broncos and the Chargers have both been playing their own version of systematic football, Justin Herbert hasn't thrown a single interception yet. But you also have J.K. Dobbins, who played incredible last week against the Colts defense. So this could definitely be a back and forth game, but with the Chargers being at home, it could end up being a game that the Broncos only score 24 points, where the Chargers and Justin Herbert have another solid game. So, but defensively, I'm going to you could trust Sean Payton, you could trust Bo Nix, because those two are like this. Even with the loss, they're like this. But I would probably say the next time they face each other, I would say Chargers win this. But Broncos, let's see the Broncos winning against Justin Herbert only if Justin Herbert throws one interception. And yes, I will say one interception, because sometimes that's all that it'll take. And also, we'll see who has been playing better and who shows up. Because we could see Bo Nix throwing 3 passing touchdowns. We could see Justin Herbert throwing 5 passing touchdowns and maybe even rushing for 40 to 60 yards. So that will be interesting. It's just very close, and obviously it's a home field advantage. Okay, so maybe retract my statement. Broncos will more than likely win next time. Chargers will win this time at home. I just think, because I'm looking back at it being home advantage, and they're already 1-0, and Broncos are already 0-1 away. And I think the Broncos, if they don't make the playoffs, it's because they lost too much when going against teams away. So Broncos, if they play away, they just need to be better, just winning consistently regardless of where they're at. And I think that's what will cause the Broncos to might not even make the playoffs. But I think they would. So Chargers win this game only by between 3 and 9 points. 3 and 9 points sounds good. Saints and Seahawks. Saints haven't. Rattler has been looking okay, but I would just have to say Saints defense hasn't looked good at all. Alvin Kamara is still putting up some solid numbers. Sam Darnold played better last week. Still threw an interception, but with that being said, he still provided the Seahawks with having good placement with the ball, scoring some touchdowns, even Kenneth Walker looking a lot better than he has even from last year. So if that stays consistent, you can see the Seahawks being 2-1. And hopefully Jackson Smith-Njigba, if I'm saying that second last name right, I think he's due for a touchdown. So we'll more than likely see that happen. Cowboys versus Bears. Obviously, with Caleb Williams playing the way he's playing, Dak Prescott and Javonte Williams playing the way they're playing, I think Cowboys will still end up winning this game. Unfortunate for the Bears at home, but it could also be the other way just because how the Cowboys have let go of so many points. Well, not so many points, but quite a few points just the last 2 weeks. Defensively, the Bears still have that good chance of winning by a field goal if they have that. Now, if the Cowboys just absolutely crush them right away in the first half, maybe even half of the third quarter, then the Cowboys may not have to worry about that too much. But the Bears will come out swinging at home. I will take the Cowboys, though. 49ers versus Cardinals. This is very good. Both teams are in the same division. Both teams are 2-0. This will actually probably give us a good scope of what's going to happen in the NFC West. NFC West, because Arizona and the 49ers both look good. I think both of them look good. Now, I think if Arizona's defense can shut down the passing game and it can only be McCaffrey doing what he needs to do as basically the captain of the frickin' team, it will be tough for the 49ers to win at home. But so I will probably give the slight edge to the 49ers. But if Mac Jones does what he did last week, it'll be a closer game. But I'm going to say Arizona Cardinals comes out with the win here. Now, obviously, 49ers also have a solid defense, and that could just kind of wipe my whole thing out the window, and 49ers can win at home solidly with like 2.5 possessions. But I think Kyle Murray will probably be a little bit better than that against the 49ers. It would probably even be just a not a smaller game, but the Arizona and 49ers may not even score that much. So we'll just have to see on that. Chiefs versus Giants. Now we're going on to that. Both teams are 0-2. Both teams are fighting for their first win. Giants are at home. Russell Wilson played phenomenally last week. But Patrick Mahomes being the lead rusher for the Chiefs is just disappointing. The Chiefs need to assign somebody. It can't just be Patrick Mahomes doing whatever he's doing with Travis Kelce. It can't. I know you guys are having missing pieces, but the run game will win you the game itself. So, not Patrick Mahomes. He can have the rushes he wants, but not just Patrick Mahomes should be running up and down that damn field. Not saying that Pachenko or Kareem Hunt, I just think that if it's not Pachenko, Kareem Hunt, then who is it? It can't just be Patrick Mahomes. It's got to be somebody else. I don't know if they still have that one young running back that was there last year, but I think he might need to come in there and get some solid yards. That's just me. Giants have, if Russell Wilson plays exactly how near close to what he played, because I don't think he's redoing what he did last week. But if he does anything from what he did week 1 to week 2 and applies all of that to week 3, and he basically is like roughly in the middle, then the Chiefs are going to have a hard time. They really are. But I think the Chiefs will end up pulling it out 27-23 maybe. but that's still not looking good for the Chiefs. Even if they win this game at in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, it will still look bad for the Chiefs if the Chiefs don't blow out the Giants. That's just me, but at the same time, the Giants are very talented, so it could be a little bit different. People may be looking at that a little bit differently, but still. Lions versus Ravens, arguably on paper, may be considered the best game to be scheduled this year, or possibly the best game to be played. I know we already seen the Bills versus the Ravens week 1. That's where the Ravens ended up losing because Josh Allen became Superman for that last drive. Well, actually not even that last drive, for the last quarter and a half. If the Lions and the Ravens both show up in Baltimore, it will be very similar to a high-scoring game, just like the Bills and the Ravens. Jared Goff played incredible last week, even getting both running backs, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, both had a touchdown. So realistically, I do think it will be a back and forth game. The defense, it'll probably just come back down to the defense. Both defenses will have to stop their opposing offense at some point during the game, to then for the Ravens to get the extra lead or for the Lions to get the extra lead. The way that the Browns stopped Derrick Henry is probably exactly what you want. I think the Lions would probably rather want to take Derrick Henry kind of out of the situation, kind of out of it. Obviously, I think Derrick Henry will rush for 80, between 80 and 100 yards, predictably. However, I do see Derrick Henry also, like, if the Lions learn from the Browns any about their rush defense, you do very similar to what the Browns did. I think all you have to worry about is Lamar Jackson passing the ball, which I think the Lions right now on paper still have a problem with that anyway. So if the Lions offense can just have more possessions than the Ravens, or I just want the Lions to win against the Ravens. Obviously, as a Bengals fan, that would be great to have the Patriots and the Lions beat the division rivals, so both division rivals are 1-2 and the Bengals start 3-0. That would be great. But at the same time, at Baltimore, it's just very tough seeing that. I want the Lions to win. I could see the Lions winning by like 3 points if it comes down to that field goal, which I think it will, as long as the Lions offense and the Lions defense keeps themselves in the game. They don't make too many mistakes against Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, they will be absolutely fine. But I do see it happening to where it will be still a high scoring game. You can make the assumption that it might not be as high as the game against, like, the Ravens against the Bills, but you could still see it being like 38-35, or maybe as high, so 41-40, or like 31-35 or something like that. But there will be stats. Like, this week, that game will be the fantasy draw. Like, that will be a lot of points if both teams are playing incredibly well. So anyway, you guys, I hope you guys like. I hope you guys comment below. Let me know what you think of the video, and let me know what I could be doing a little bit differently. And subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Support the channel. You guys have a good one. Peace.